there, and welcome to today's video. For today's video, I had absolutely no idea what I was going to build, but I thought, hey, why don't we just open up the game and see what comes out of it? So I really didn't have much of a plan at all. I originally wanted to build something really awkward. So this is a Sims after all, and I figured why not build something where things are structurally unsafe, but it will work in the Sims anyways. But even with that thought in mind, I wasn't too sure what to build, so instead I went with using a lot of platforms. Admittedly, I've given platforms quite a lot of hate. It is not something that I would 100% say, hey, let's use this right away. And to be completely honest, I think I would typically use it for roofing more than anything else. But this time I thought, why don't I try to make something a little bit more interesting? So for today, we're going to be building a bit of a more modern house. Compared to what I've been building lately, I'd say this is definitely modern in comparison. Now, there were only a couple things that I knew going into the house. I knew I wanted there to be platforms. I knew I wanted the house to have steps up made out of platforms. I knew I wanted some sort of planters to go along with the steps. And I knew I wanted a fountain somewhere, and that was about it. So I kind of drew some inspiration from some previous builds and some reference photos and kind of put a house together. I actually rather liked the flow of the house, though I do think that the master bedroom having its doors through the dining room was a little weird. But when I was coming up with a layout, I figured that the bedroom upstairs was going to be more of a pain, and I really wanted to make as many rooms as I could in this house. I don't know why, I just wanted this house to have a lot of rooms. And it's not even for a lot of Sims. You'll see closer to the end, but 2 of the rooms don't even end up being actual bedrooms. One of them is an office and the other one is a family room. So go figure, but I really liked how each couple rooms upstairs had their own shared bathroom. Instead of it being, this is a Jack and Jill or this is an ensuite, I figured this was a bit more realistic. Though admittedly, this probably would have been just one bathroom upstairs, but it's a Sims, let's give them one more bathroom. Now overall, with this house, I actually started a little bit on the outside and the inside at the same time. I did mostly the outside and what the house was going to look like itself, but I did need to figure out a bit of the floor plan as I went along with it, since there were some areas that were like, okay, I have this area, but what's the kitchen, what's the dining room, what's the living room? So when doing the outside, I mentioned the few features that I wanted to be here. So the platforms going up and the planters and basically a fountain. So step 1 was figuring out where that was going to go and what it was going to look like. I figured this is a bit more of a modern house. I didn't really want it to be very overgrown. So even in, I guess what you could consider the backyard, though it's not a concrete jungle, I guess this one is a decking jungle. There's no actual grass in the backyard, but I figured I wanted this place to look very manicured. There's a lot of grass on the outside already, and I wanted this to be a very defined area. So I really wanted to use some hedges, but instead of the hedge fencing, I thought to take it a little bit back to Sims 1 and use the iconic 1x1 hedges. So that is basically what I used to define what the backyard is, and there's no way to get from the backyard to outside of the house basically. You have to go back through the house and go outside. And I even separated what would be considered technically a step for your Sims by using half walls. So basically in areas that I didn't want them going down, I just put a half wall. But now that I'm thinking back on it, I hope it's not too much of a big deal with your Sims placing plates all over it all the time. Though to be completely honest, I haven't seen them using half walls that way when you use it to cover a platform. I'm not saying it can't happen, I'm just saying it hasn't happened to me. Moving on to the inside, when I was first doing the layout, I really thought that this kitchen was going to be in the worst place possible. It was going to be a pain to do it, how dare I put it there. But once I actually started putting things in there, it looked a lot better and better in my opinion. I actually rather like that you can see the kitchen as you come down the stairs. The bathroom is right by the kitchen, but it's not in the kitchen. It's technically under the stairs and it just so happens to be in the vicinity, but it's not close enough to the kitchen to be like, that's disgusting. I don't know about you, but IRL, if there's a door right next to the fridge, for example, leading to a bathroom, it's not my favorite. But in this layout, that wasn't the case. I even had enough space in the kitchen to put an island, and it seems like there's enough space to comfortably maneuver the kitchen without getting in the way of the island, and to also have island seating. I only had a single sim in this house while I was testing some things here and there that I was placing in a bit of an awkward position, but even if you had more sims in here, I don't think there would be any issues with the flow. Now the dining room, as I mentioned before, actually has the doors leading to the main bedroom, and the whole dining room itself is on a bit of a step up. So as I said before, I wanted to really play around with platforms in here, but I think that actually worked out really well when going towards the bedroom. There is a step down after you come through the door, but I figured I could use that platform to put a bit of decoration, which I ended up just putting some decorative plants. So the main bedroom ended up being a bit of, I guess what some people would call an oasis. I'm doing air quotes here, by the way. It has the bed, it has a little bit of a living room, I guess. It has a couch and a TV, and it also has their ensuite and direct access to the backyard. So they have a little bit of a private deck before going down to the rest of what's the backyard. The living room, though, was really interesting because as I was doing that layout, I figured there was going to be a little bit of a weird bump no matter how I did that layout. So it ended up being a bit of a study nook. There was basically a couple armchairs, a bookcase, and a chess table. But everything worked, so I figured might as well keep the nook. Once you head outside to the backyard, I really wanted to have a pool that ran right to the house. I didn't want precisely a lap pool, but I definitely wanted it to be longer instead of a perfect square, and I wanted it to be basically the end of the backyard. So I guess you could say that the deck or the backyard, however you want to consider it, is technically an L shape, with a short piece of the L being the pool. That's what I thought this was going to be, and that's actually what it ended up being. So I'm very pleased with how that turned out. But upstairs, I mentioned that there were quite a few rooms up there. One of them I made into an office, the other one into a family room, and as I was making that family room, I figured we might as well have a couple toddlers here. I was debating whether it would be a kid and a toddler, or just a couple toddlers, and the former one. The family room had some building blocks, and it had some things for kids and some things for toddlers, so I figured, hey, let's do it for the younger ones. Their room actually didn't have too much in it, since I figured they would probably spend most of their time in the family room. The other kid, though, I was thinking it would be more of a teen when I was making the room, but it could definitely just be a kid that has a really big bed as well. But anyways, we are getting close to the end of this video. It was a little longer than it's been lately, but admittedly, this one did take me quite a bit, even cutting out things like the landscaping, which it might seem like there wasn't much of, but it was just a lot of placing down stuff, especially with that hedge fencing, I guess. But do let me know down below what you think of this one. Let me know what you'd like me to try out next, and I hope to see you in the next video. Have a great weekend!